The topic was open to me. I selected the topic how to become a successful woman entrepreneur. From my past experience, I can suggest that although it is very difficult for female to be an entrepreneur, but it's also true that female entrepreneur enjoys some advantages over their male counterpart. There is no shortcut key to success, but definitely there are some methods, rather methodical ways to achieve success. In my present session, I will try to highlight that path with you, the advantages and challenges before you. And I'm very happy to see that although it's Sunday, a large number of students have joined to hear me. I'm really, it's a nice opportunity uh, to be here with you, all my friends. If you have any question, please note it down. And at the end of my session, you will be given a chance to have interaction with me. I believe many of you have read literature. And I have found many female entrepreneurs came from literature background. I would like to start with Aristotle's catharsis theory. This term catharsis appears only once in Aristotle's Poetic and without any definite meaning or explanation. That it has still been one of the most popular and celebrated terms in the fields of literary criticism. The critics have advanced three different meanings to this term: purgation, purification, clarification. Despite differing in their interpretation of catharsis, critics have agreed upon the fact that tragedy arouses pity and fear, which lead to a tragic pleasure. Why I am discussing this topic with you? Because I believe that entrepreneurship is like a poetry. All ups and downs lead to pity and fear, which give the entrepreneur the moment of a tragic pleasure every time. If you are really enthusiastically thinking to be an entrepreneur in your future course of time, then be ready to get that moments of tragic pleasure every time, every day in your future journey. There are various streams genes inherited in you that can make you an amazing entrepreneur. Trust me. Let me point out these 10 strains that can transform your life to a successful entrepreneur. And the strains were discovered through different studies across the world. In a 2016 study, women scored higher than men in most areas of emotional intelligence. That study shows women were better at soft skills that help them effectively lead in companies. So, in the areas of emotional intelligence and soft skills, it's your strength. And the women are more self-aware, demonstrates empathy, and outperformed better than men. Second strength is ability to multitask. You see your mother, how many tasks she performed every day in your family. Multitasking is a natural trait of any female person. It's believed that multitasking is a critical skill of an entrepreneur. Since you have natural ability to multitasking, you have that advantage in you. The third aspect is adaptability. All companies, all startups undergo changes over time. That's why it's so important for any entrepreneur to be adaptable. Fortunately, women have that trait, inbuilt trait. In a survey, it was found 1400 women were asked what skills make them successful at work. The top answer was adaptability. Women know that in order for businesses to succeed, they must stay flexible during changes. And that's the biggest advantage of woman entrepreneur. The fourth strength is perseverance. I believe that Indian women are mentally very tough. They have hit the glass ceiling and fought for the equalities for a long time. Women have a lot in them, both passion as well as determination. And we know that entrepreneurship is a crazy ride. So it takes incredible amount of perseverance to succeed. And since woman has that ability within herself, it's very easy for them to succeed in business. Fifth strength is communication. It's true that both men and women are great communicators, but in different ways. While men are excellent at communicating in clear and concise ways, women pick up on non-verbal cues, empathize with others, and display great listening skills. I recall in my early childhood when probably I was in class 1 or class 2, my class teacher taught us how to express thanks without uttering a single word, just by a sweet smile. So that kind of gesture and posture is very important in social life and business life. A single vocabulary may have multiple uses, multiple meaning, but this kind of smile, a glorious face to express thanks, or expression to express sorrow or empathy, cannot have a double meaning. That's a strength any female person possesses in herself. Communication must is the most valuable skill for any entrepreneur and CEOs, because you need to communicate your vision, your values to the rest of the world. And when you get the messages across, you can influence people and initiate actions. The sixth strength is understanding. Female CEOs have more empathy and compassion for other people. That's very natural, because in a family, your mother is the most shows most empathy and compassion for all the members of a family. And if a female is turned to an entrepreneur, she tend to create such a family friendly, female friendly workplace, and can offer the benefits and perks with her colleagues, which may make them happy and satisfied. The seventh strength is ability to take risk. You know that starting a business is a huge risk, huge risk. Why it is risky? Because the entire thing is very uncertain. You do not know what is going to happen with your business in next day. But women are ready to take the leap. According to a research conducted by Center of Entrepreneurship UK, 87% women identify as financial risk takers compared to 73% of men. 80% of women can visualize opportunities when other people see it as risk. Only 67% men felt the same way. Even though men have a reputation for being adventurous, women actually have more of a risk taking mindset. It's clear that being a risk taker is a must trait for entrepreneurial success. The eighth strength is modesty. In the same study conducted by Center for Entrepreneurship UK, just 42% of women said their business was prospering. A later analysis of the same businesses reported that the companies were actually doing much better than the woman reported. Modesty wins in the workplace. One of the worst things a CEO can do is get overly confident. The competition is fierce, and you never know who is sneaking up on your company. So be alert, stay humble, and constantly evaluate the market and make changes to adapt. The ninth strength is creativity. I personally believe that Indian women are naturally creative. You see the female member of your family, how beautifully they can craft anything, they can design a rangoli, which I cannot. We must agree that men and women look at situation differently. Women are great at thinking outside of the box and looking for new solutions to old problems. They avoid a don't fix it if it is not broken attitude in pursuit of new creative ideas. The 10th strength is relationship building. Simply put, women value relationships over other things like power and status. An woman entrepreneur always build their company based on that relationship with your customer, relationship with your employees, relationship with your financer, and all the stakeholders. So if you are a woman and planning to start a new business, I have a good news for you. You have a lot going for you. So embrace your unique strengths, write them down, and think about how they help your company. Chances are many of the traits I mentioned here are already working for you. Use them to your advantage. So, when you are jumping to risk, you should explore, you should exploit all your strength areas that is already there in you. Now, let us discuss a few issues relating with entrepreneurial mind. Entrepreneurial mind setting is very, very important. You are pursuing higher education. Why? To acquire knowledge. And if you want to become an entrepreneur, what is the purpose of doing that? To convert that knowledge into wealth. That's your objective. So actually, that's the basic objective of present day education. The education should have the power to convert it, to convert that knowledge into wealth. Whatever you do, you may be in service, you may be in entrepreneurship, your own company, whatever you do, that should be your basic objective. Where the entrepreneurial mind is very important. Now let us discuss what turns a student into a successful entrepreneur. There are some unique points. If you have resilience in you, if you can establish relationship between disparate areas of a project, and if you are good in teamwork and collaboration, that may turn you into a successful entrepreneur. As a student, you know that to prove something, you need to set a hypothesis, then you go for experimentation, and after experimentation, the result is set. Whether it is failure or success, if it is failure, then go for repetition. That's the resilience you have to show in entrepreneurship. Similarly, if you have a big goal in your life, break it into smaller pieces which are more achievable. But that should be done in a coherent manner. That should be done in a cohesive manner where lots of resources should be involved. And you know, what are the different types of resources that you may require? There are physical resources like land, building, etc., plant, machinery, etc. There are financial resources like money, and also there are human resources, human capital. Human capital is the main factor of any business. If you have good intention, money will fall from heaven. But creating and building a good team is very difficult. So, if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, try to focus on these three basic things in your life: your own resilience, your ability to break your entire dream into small pieces, achievable, and building a teamwork and a network. Now the question comes, what do you actually want from an woman entrepreneur? We need creativity, adaptability, communication, leadership, and entrepreneurial mindset. Take the example of corporates. Corporates also hire young people, young graduates for the management positions. And they want them to be equipped with a broad set of management skills and management know-how. Similarly, entrepreneurs need professional skills as well as technical acumen, along with their high level of innovation and risk-taking ability. This is a 2x2 matrix. To be an entrepreneur, the management skill and business know-how should be high, as well as creativity and innovation should also be high. If you have both these qualities, you can be a good entrepreneur. Now, what is an entrepreneurial mindset? Many times I repeated this word, entrepreneurial mindset, but what is that? Entrepreneurial mindset is a collection of mental habits which may include an attentiveness towards opportunities and a focus on their impact, all with the intention of creating value. What is value? Value is something which you will create through your business, for which your customer will like to pay for. Entrepreneurial mindset equips people to identify different opportunities around you and create value in any context. This learned behavior is a way of thinking about the world and acting upon what you see. Entrepreneurial mindset empowers you to question, adapt, think differently, and make a positive change. This can be related to entrepreneurship, but is not exclusive to new ventures. There are three C's of entrepreneurial mindset: curiosity, connections, and creating value. Curiosity about the changing world and what is happening around us, and employ a new view of about the world. To do that, we should connect all the resources from where we will get the information, and creating the value. Create the value for my future customers. What is business? If I ask you, what is business? Business is not just selling product. Business is not just manufacturing products. It's actually creating and delivering value to your customers. Customers are looking for values only nowadays. They are ready to pay handsome amount for that. A t-shirt is sold at 400 rupees. This similar product can be sold at 4,000 rupees. The price gap is huge. But there are people who are ready to pay 4,000 bucks to acquire that product. Why? For the value they are getting through that product. Entrepreneurial mindset, as I told, is a combination of these three C, but that should be coupled with engineering thoughts and actions that should be expressed through collaboration and communication and founded on a character. This is very important. Character. Character identifies personal passions. It fulfills commitments, discern and pursue ethical practice, and contribute to society. That's the entrepreneurial mindset. Now, important thing is to focus on entrepreneurial skill sets. Technology, product, program, business models, organization structure, strategy, everything is required. But in three forms: finding the opportunity, design it, and create an impact. So, you can segregate in these three segments: creating opportunity, design, your product, program, everything, business model, everything, and make an impact. So that's the key entrepreneurial skill sets in you. And clubbing together, this is the framework for entrepreneurial mind engineering, which we practice in our own institution, GLA Business School. Entrepreneurial mindset plus entrepreneurial skill sets equals to entrepreneurial outcome. So outcome is actually a combination of mindset as well as skill sets. So this is the entire framework for entrepreneurial mind engineering, which you should inculcate in you. Now let us look at this. Setting your own mind, making up your own mind, whether you want to be an entrepreneur or not. First you decide. There is no compulsion. There is no compulsion in life. And no one can force you to become an entrepreneur unless you want it. So let us first make up our mind. How to choose the right business for you? Have you ever thought of it? If you have a burning desire to become a female entrepreneur, you need to lay the crucial foundations, decide what the business will be in the first place, because it's a basic requirement. There are some questions to ask yourself when choosing a business. What are your key skills? How will you turn to your skills, turn your skills into a business model? Is there a viable niche in the market? And the fourth question is, can you afford to start a business? There may be many more business ideas. It's just selecting a star in the Milky Way. It's so difficult. Now let us discuss, let us focus on this difficult task. What are your key entrepreneurial skills? Whatever skill you have, try to assess of your own, which you can apply with 100% energy and focus for years to come. There is a proverb: if you do what you love, you will never work a day in your life, because that will become a common practice in your life. It's not a 10 to 5 job. So, first to identify your key entrepreneurial skills and think how those skills can be best fit in an industry. Second is, how will you turn your skills into a business model? There are three basic questions. Does the industry you are looking to enter have a strong growth rate? Will resource shortage make it more difficult for you in future? And third one is, are the main competitors so well established that you will struggle? So, generating business idea is not much difficult, but assessing the feasibility and uh, to make it sustainable in future is very important. Third question is there a viable niche in the market? Ask yourself 4 questions. Generally, entrepreneurs want to enter in any niche market. The reason is in the niche market, the level of competition is low. It may be geographically, it may be um, demographically, it may be product wise or price wise, whatever it is, you need to find out a viable niche market for your product launching. The 4 questions which you have to confront. Number 1, where can you aim your effort so you can meet a demand? If you are meeting a demand, are you also able to leave a strong and lasting impression so customers remember you? How can you ensure that you will outcompete existing and future competitors? What sets you apart? And the 4th question is the interest in your product or service just a fleeting trend of very few people that will pass after a short time, or is it likely that you will be able to keep your position in the industry for the foreseeable future? Just introduction of a new product in a market is not starting of a business. That you should accept this fact. You are introducing a product and you are getting a few customers. It's not starting of a business unless and until you can hold those customers and you can increase your base of customers. A niche to fill can be difficult, but it's very necessary. It's absolutely a necessity for any startup. This step on the route to become an entrepreneur is important to compete with big businesses. A successful start in a niche within a market will help you to avoid some of the more frequently encounter problems of women entrepreneurs. So try to assess how far a blue ocean strategy is practicable in your case. A blue ocean strategy is the strategy of entering a market or creating a market where there is no competition or very few competition, which is very easy to overcome. The 4th question is, can you afford to start a business? This question comes because most of the entrepreneurs start their business with a few penny in their pocket. To start a business and to compete with the big businesses, you should attain a scale in order to achieve the economy of scale, to in order to get the benefit out of that economy of scale, which may require a certain level of investment in your business. The question comes, how do you arrange your seed capital, and whether that seed capital is adequate to attain that scale that you are planning. You know that money makes money, but if you don't have money, so you have to break the ice. Now let us start planning. It's actually not planning. It's actually an action plan. It's actually a blueprint of what we will do in future. Everything should be there in black and white, so that in future you can refer to it, and if any correction is required, you can do it promptly. Here I'm starting with this question: how to get your business started. This is where it gets really interesting. You have got an idea, you have done your research on it, and you are ready to put it in production. Success in entrepreneurship is not likely to be reached by dividing blindly into a rough idea of how to run a business. If you want to be a successful woman entrepreneur, of course, you have the ability to do so, I believe. So take some time to plan your business with careful attention, and you will make a real difference. There are 8 steps to take before putting your business plan into action. First step 1, finding a target audience. Step 2, planning your business finance. Step 3, picking a name for your business. Step 4, company registration, acquiring licenses, and all the compliances. Step 5, choosing a location. Step 6, forming and building a team. Step 7, developing a market strategy. Step 8, establishing a pricing strategy. These 8 essential steps are there in any business planning. Finding a target audience. Take the example of selling baby clothes. Who will be your target audience? 18 to 25 years male? Probably not. Probably your right demography is women between the age group of 25 to 35. So, selecting the customer group and the segmentation and targeting those groups is the first step. Second step is planning your finance. You cannot run your wheel without money. There is a proverb in Bengali, Taka chhara chaka ghore na. That means you cannot run the wheel without fuel. You need to pump fuel. So you should start planning your finance. There are 2 aspects: plan for your capital expenditure, plan for your operational expenditure. The assets that you want to procure is your capital expenditure, which is a one-time purchase, but your day-to-day operation requires OPEX or operational expenditures. So you should have that knowledge in you to segregate these 2 different expenditure. The capital expenditure will come in accounts, in the books of accounts. It will come, it will be listed in balance sheet, and our operational expenditure will be listed in trading and profit and loss account. Now let us plan for capex. To acquire assets, we need to create a capital structure. Generally, there are two sources of capital, debt and equity. Equity is spent to acquire the fixed assets, and debt is spent to acquire the fixed asset and also for the working capital. Asset comprises of both fixed assets as well as working capital. So in this capital structure, we are assessing the volume of asset we may require in terms of fixed assets, also in terms of working capital, and how do I finance through different sources like equity and debt. Equity is termed as owner's capital or owned capital, and debt is termed as borrowed capital. Their next issue is how to make the capital structure optimal. There is no thumb rule for that. Whether 50-50 or 60-40 is or 40-40, what ratio is optimal, it's very difficult to say. But it depends on two factors, business risk as well as financial risk. Business risk generally depends on this operational issues, operational cost and everything, and financial risk arises out of different financing modes, leverage, cost of capital, etc. So there are various factors affecting this capital structure, and there is a thorough method of calculation. This is a kind of part of entrepreneurial finance through which you will determine the optimal capital structure. What should be the debt equity ratio? What should be the ideal debt equity ratio for your company? Now let us plan for OPEX. OPEX is operating expenditure for day-to-day running of the business. Let us understand two basic issues: cost and profit. If I ask you, what is profit? You are doing business to earn profit, right? Nobody runs business to incur loss. Then what is profit? Profit can be defined as excess of revenue over expenditure. So this is actually revenue minus cost. Profit is derived by this simple formula: revenue minus cost. To earn profit, you should have a strong revenue model, and also you should have a competitive cost model. So when you plan for this entire OPEX, you focus on these two models. One is your revenue model. There should be a strong revenue model. How this revenue is calculated? Q into P. What is the economic formula? Q into P. P is price per unit and Q is the quantity sold in the market. So Q into P is the revenue. And cost has two parts. One is called variable cost, that varies with the level of production. And the second part is fixed cost, which is fixed which is committed for a period, like rent, like salary. If you don't have any production, you have to incur that cost. So these two very important. I would like to refer to the Tata Nano, that the market price was fixed by its own policy. Tata Nano was termed as ek lakhi gadi. Initially, the market price was fixed at 1 lakh rupees, and to attain that cost, to make profit from that declared price of 1 lakh per car, the cost should be arrested at a particular level to earn profit, which is a subject of target costing. And that's why when there was agitation in Singur in West Bengal regarding the land issues, Tata was compelled to shift to Sanand for their Tata Nano project. The reason was the government allotted 1,000 acres of land in Singur, West Bengal to Tatas. Out of this 1,000 acres, nearly 50% of the landowners were not willing to give their land to government, but it was acquired by force, by act. So there was huge agitation. Now there was a second proposal. You take 50% land, and that land is situated on the on a single side of national highway. There was an alternative proposal. You take 50% land on the other side of the national highway, but Tata refused to do that. The reason is it was an integrated plant, and all the items, all the supply lines were integrated in that plant, so that all the items to be assembled in the car can be procured through a simple rotation of a moving belt, in order to cut the unnecessary cost. So to become competitive in the market, this cost management is an essential item in your operation planning. Third step is picking a name for your business, because in name you will create the brand for your company. There are some criteria for setting, for giving name. Relate to your product or service, be simple to pronounce, be easy to remember, be different from existing business names, be discoverable through Google search. But I have seen in many cases entrepreneurs and their family members go to Guruji, study astrology to set their name. You can do that. I don't have any problem on that. But before giving a name, you should consider these 5 aspects. Fourth step is company registration, acquiring licensing, and all compliances that you should consult with a good lawyer or good expert, and you should see what kind of diligence is required in your state. In most of the cases, state government websites will guide you, and that's the important step. Step number 4. Step number 5 deals with choosing a location. For online stores, no location is required, but for brick and mortar company, yes, definitely, place is very important. place of business is very important. If you select a wrong place to run your business, then please don't expect a good return out of that. When you select location, you should consider, and you should be confident that you will get your target audience in that market, in that location. So that should be your primary objective, primary look after, and also the purchasing power of the target audience. Step 6, forming and building a founding team. Team is essential. Without team, it will be a one-man army, and one-man army cannot win the battle. You will have many challenges in your life, but you should find right people with you to deal with those issues. When you plan to recruit people, you should be very cautious, and you should select only those people who have right skill and also the zeal to work with you. Step number 7 is developing a marketing strategy. Without marketing strategy, you cannot win the game. Most of the cases in our country, we focus on disruptive technology, but we seldom speak about disruptive strategy. There are many large corporates in India, but today Reliance is number one, not because of technology, it's because of its unique disruptive strategy. So friends, try to apply that disruptive strategy in your business. There are various models. You make a complete review of those things and the factors and make a right strategy, right marketing strategy for your business. That will give you success in short time. Otherwise, you have to struggle a lot. Pricing is very important factor. For each product, you have to set a price. In open market, price is fixed, price is governed by the market forces. In competitive arena, it's governed by the market forces. But you have the liberty to set your own MRP. But that is a function of different aspects like your quality, your durability, your form, shape, color, everything, design, everything. So first you design your product, make it differentiate from others. There are various differentiating methods. Apply those methods to differentiate your product from the others. Add value to it and set your price accordingly. But you should keep one thing in your mind. You designed your product a very nice way. You've added so many of values in your product, and when you are calculating your cost sheet, you find that the cost of the product is exceeding that of the market price prevailing. So that's not a good practice. You should be competitive. There should be, on one hand, when you are comparing with your competitor's product, there should be point of differentiation as well as point of parity. On the in terms of product quality and product features, there should be point of differentiation, but in terms of price, there should be point of parity, because you are not the market leader, you are just entering a new market. A market leader can do that. A market leader can set its own price, like Samsung can set its own price, Sony can set its own price, Mercedes-Benz can set its own price. But you as an entrepreneur, as a newcomer, cannot expect that you are in a power to set your own price. Now, let us draw the business plan based on our discussions. Business plan is actually a combination of everything. Your vision, mission, your competitors analysis, SWOT analysis about yourself, your human resource planning, your market research, your company's background, your marketing plan and strategy, and your financial plan. It will cover everything and it will prepare a document. So business plan is a comprehensive document that gathers all relevant information about your company so that the relevant stakeholders can have a quick view of your company from that piece of document. When you draw your business plan, the first step is designing a value-based business model. You have to create a unique customer value proposition. This is called CVP business model. You set target customer, you decide jobs to be done to solve any important problem or fulfill an important need for the target customer, and you make the offering, you design the offering, satisfy the problem or fulfills that need. Am I audible now?
Yes, yes, sir, please.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so designing a value-based business model is the first step, where you are targeting customer, the jobs to be done to solve any issue, any problem of the customer, the target customer, and you're designing your offering in such a manner that satisfy the problem or fulfill need. There are four important aspects of CVP model: understanding the target customers, understanding their need, design the key offering, identify the key resources, profit planning, and setting the key process. So once you set the CVP business model, your target customer, jobs to be done, and offering, you think about the other three aspects. These key resources. I described that there are three broad types of resources. One, physical resource, second one is financial resource, and third one is human resource. Apart from that, there may be some other resources like channel partnership, collaboration, everything is part of, no, it's a network resource. Profit formula, as I explained, that the entrepreneurs start business to earn profit. and profit is the outcome of revenue and cost. So there should be a good revenue model. There should be a cost structure which you can review at every step of your process. There should be a margin model, and there should be a resource velocity so that no resource is blocked in the process in order to avoid any kind of fund blockage. The key resources, the key processes are designing, product development, manufacturing, marketing, training, everything. Rules and matrices and norms, all these are the part of key processes. This is how we can design the value-based business model. Now, the entrepreneur has to decide the opportunity matrix. What is this opportunity matrix? There are two important factors. One is a desirable future state of condition involving growth or at least some change in positive manner, and the individual must believe in it is possible to reach at that state. These relationships often identifies four groups: satisfied manager, consummate bureaucratic functionary, frustrated entrepreneurs, and entrepreneur. So we should answer to these questions, and we should assess ourselves, and we should be confident that we are real entrepreneur. Next, we should find out the opportunity stimulants. We should assess these stimulants like technology, consumer economic, social values, other regulatory and political actions, etc., which may have a great impact on my business. There are 5 key questions on opportunity. Where is that opportunity? So find the market, search for the market. How do I capitalize it? So in what way I can do that? What resources do I need? Resource planning. How do I in control over them? This process, matter of process. And what structure is based? So these are the 5 key questions on opportunity. Based on this groundwork, now it's time to prepare the business plan. There are 2 formats, you know. I am not explaining in details. There are traditional format and lean startup format. Traditional business plan format, no, it's a very detailed work has to be done, starting from executive summary, company description, market analysis, organization management, everything should be in details. But the lean startup business plan is just a 1-page plan that highlights the key partnerships, activities, resources, value proposition, customer relationships, customer segments, channels, cost structure, revenue streams. That's all. It is not a voluminous thing. It's written on just a single page. After that, we may go for investment appraisal techniques. We may apply those techniques to check the viability, financial viability of the project. There are various tools and techniques to do that. And to manage it properly, time management is very important. So to manage it properly, Gantt chart should be prepared in order to manage the time. because time overrun may lead to cost overrun. Now, how do I fund my project? There are various private funding from angel investors, venture capitalists, or from other corporates. And there, that private funding is available from different at different stages, from seed level to growth stage. In all stages, you will find private funding. There are several government schemes available for the entrepreneurs and startups. Most important schemes, as you know, for the female candidates is Stand Up India scheme, between 10 lakhs to 1 crore to start with, where 51% of the shareholding should be in the hands of women entrepreneur or SC/ST candidates. There are other MSME loans also available from banks. Now, simple tips to overcome challenges as a woman entrepreneur. There are some common challenges faced by female entrepreneurs, including overcoming social stigmas, building a network, conquering fear of failure, balancing with work and family, and to acquire fund. Everywhere you have to face a lot of challenges in all these areas. But we have to overcome. We have to overcome all these challenges, barriers. 3 steps to avoid failure. Determine its barriers to entrepreneurship, as we discussed. All these are our barriers. Seek to minimize the risk to the individual for being an entrepreneur and exploit any resource pool that is available with you. So these are the key steps to avoid failure. If you, I told you, if you have good intention, money will fall from heaven. But it's very difficult to build a strong team with you. So that's also a resource. A good knowledgeable person, maybe your professor, is also a resource. A good consultant is also a resource. A good lawyer who may guide you is also a resource. A good bank manager is also a resource. All resources you got to price it for. Nurture those resources. So exploit all the resources that you have good access. 10 commitments of successful woman entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is the ability to create and build something from scratch. Collect basic minimum resources for your business. Explore the world which is new to you. Use failure as a tool for learning. Respond to setbacks and defeat as if they were temporary interruptions. And rely on the resiliency to rebound and success. Addresses how to get the odds of success in your favor. Try to be effective rather than perfect. Trust yourself, as no one has the perfect answer. Get the facts to become a mini expert while keeping in mind that your conclusion is subjective. Inspire others and become a role model. Try to become a role model for others. When you will become a role model for others, it's sure that you are a successful woman entrepreneur. We have discussed a lot about woman entrepreneurship if it is not an effort to redefine gender stereotypes. We have described how to choose the right business ideas, what it will take for you to get that business started, and challenges faced by female entrepreneurs along the way. All the information in the world is useless if it is not applied properly to achieve the desired goal. So, if you are striving to become a female entrepreneur, it won't be enough to read up on advice. You need to get out there and put these tips and insights into actions. Let us know them, what you are really made of, ladies. You have that power in you. You have that inherent quality in you. Try to explore, my friends. Try to explore. And you can do that. Have faith in you. You have that right quality in you. I'd like to end my today's session with this 2-3 lines. Instead of freaking out about constant, embrace them. Let them guide you. Constant strive innovation and force focus. Instead of trying to remove them, use them to your advantages. Use them to improve you. That's all, my friends. Thank you very much. And I'm handing over to Dr. Arora.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Very insightful session, sir. So many things we have covered in 1 hour time. I hope that everything, all the students have enjoyed all the slides of your session. Sir, one question is they are from Simi. Simi is from Agra. Her name is Sheetal Jain. She is doing BCA from Agra. Her question is this, sir, that how important higher studies, especially MBA, is for starting anyone's own business to become a women entrepreneur?
Yeah, very good question. Very good question. Now, if you want to be an entrepreneur, what exactly you intend to do? You intend to start business. So you are doing business without having knowledge of business. Is it advisable, you tell me? If you want to get involved into any technical thing like research, you should have the knowledge of research. You should have the knowledge of subject. But here, if you enter in your entrepreneurial career without having the knowledge of business and management, so you'll be in a deep trouble. Because your MBA course will prepare you in such a way that you get the you understand, you acquire the knowledge of business, you acquire the knowledge of entrepreneurship, you acquire the knowledge of about industry. That's how we actually, the MBA, the B schools, prepare their students.
Right.
So if you want to start your business, then you should have the academic knowledge of business. That's the it should be precondition.
All the participants,
any kind of training, it may not be 2 years full-time MBA or something, but some kind of business knowledge you should acquire before you start your business. Because there are various subjects like finance, marketing, HR, operations, so many of management subjects are there that you should know, you should learn.
Any of the participants, if you have any question, please feel free to ask. You can unmute yourself from your end and you can put your questions. Otherwise, also you can write your question in the chat box. Abhijit, meanwhile, I just want to ask one thing, that many of the women entrepreneurs, they are facing the problem related to their motivation level, which is ultimately converted to their confidence. We know that
Yes.
they can do, but they are not knowing that they can do. Many times some hesitance is there, or many times they are not fully confident that whether they should go for such kind of business opportunity to take the advantage or not. And if they go, how to go, and every step they feel, we think that they are facing some lack of confidence. So what they can do from that end?
Here I would request Dr. Aurora that let them use your no infrastructure as their no venture lab. The time they are spending at your university to pursue a higher study for 2 years or 3 years, or no or more than that, if they are pursuing PhD program, then let them utilize that time and facilities and resources of the university as a launching pad
Yes.
under your guidance and the guidance of the other experts in your network. No, the confidence will automatically come. That's no, actually we are no, it's the same thing we are practicing in our institution. We have only two courses because it's a B school. We have only two courses: undergraduate BBA course and postgraduate MBA course, 2 years MBA course, and also we have 5 years integrated BBA MBA. Or wherever a student comes, if they are coming from a business family, and most of the cases, if the students come from business family, their first choice is to be in the business rather than to be in the in any job. They are given offer to utilize our facilities, incubation facilities, and everything at free of cost, and some kind of seed capital is also provided, matching with the it's a kind of matching grant. Suppose they are planning for a small business that requires a capital of 50,000, say. So 25,000 that boy or girl is providing, is giving, and institution is giving a matching grant of another 25,000. So the corpus of 50,000 is created to start with, and we have rigorous follow up and procedure of creating the plan and to monitor the plan, and no a very rigorous financial plan we follow, so that with this small contribution we can do something at a reasonable size. So to get confidence, it's very important to be into action. So entrepreneurial skill that I discussed, actually any skill comes through practice. And when we talk about the entrepreneurial skill, that skill will come through entrepreneurial practice only. And that practice is possible only if they start some small business. So that's how they can build their confidence.
Sir, another kind of
Or
problem it comes with women promoters, that how to find a team, how to make a team, how to get good people in their business.
yes, there are two phases actually. One is creating the team, selecting the team, and building the team. When they will select the team, they should be very selective. Mental matching is very important, and the team members should be very honest to their job and their duties. When an entrepreneur starts their career, he or she is starting a venture at the age of say 23 years, 24 years, 25 years. But that particular business may require 3 to 5 years of experience, maybe in sales or in production, whatever specialist field. So a 23-year-old or 24-year-old lady is hiring a person who is much older than her. So that's the biggest challenge she has to face. So first she need to ensure that the employee under him or under her leadership will be mentally ready to work properly. So that's a basic assessment she should do when selecting her own team. The team can be selected, team can be created from peer groups also. If the peer groups have same mental level, mental length, and uh, same level of ambition and shared goals, then it is also possible. But only issue that I have in my mind, if you create with your you create the team with your peer groups, then it will be an it will not be experienced team. So in that case you should have a learning and development effort, continuous learning and development effort through different mentors group, so that that team can be over time, time frame of 6 months or 1 year, that team gets some competence level. So there are two parts: one is creating the team and building the team.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Any other question from the participants? Any question from the participants? Otherwise, thank you, sir. Thanks a lot for sparing time.
I would like to mention one more point.
Yes, sir.
That I have actually, if you see the versions of Indian entrepreneurs and the Western entrepreneurs, you will find basic difference. Many Indian entrepreneurs have jumped into the fire out of zeal, but the Western entrepreneurs, whatever they do, they first assess the level of risk in a very meticulous way. All the activities, all the functions, there are some associated risk. And if you assess the risk properly, the failure rate will be much lesser. In Western world, the success rate of startups are not more than 40%, 40-45%. But in India, it is less than 20-25%. So we should be very careful about that. We should be very meticulous in planning and preparing our projects. Especially, we should give much focus on building our business model, our financial plan, and the risk associated with all the activities, business activities.
Thank you, sir.
That's
Great,
all.
sir. Great, sir. Thank you. So thanks a lot, sir, for sparing time and giving us your valuable, actually valuable time on this particular very important topic of women entrepreneurship. And I also want to thanks to all the participants who have attended this session. And next Sunday we are going to have another important session in Mentorship Series 22 that would be conducted by Nimisha Jain ma'am. So till that time, see you later.